We're still here. Believe me, guys, I'm getting past the point now. I thought we'd be back. But we keep going. We will keep going. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another week. I've completely lost count, but welcome to another week. Morning, Joe. Morning, Dylan. How are you guys doing this morning? Who else we got on? Morning, Bo. We're still here. So let's get right back to it. How many this morning? Good morning, Alice, if you're watching. By the looks of it, she's having a couple of issues. So Bo's going with 2. Joe's going with 2 as well. Excuse me. All going with 2. Dylan's got 2 as well this morning. I hate to say it, year 6. This is only number 1. I know what's happening. So, where are we? What day are we at? Which week is it? What month is it? I'm just... Sorry, I keep getting messages through. I'm not sure which way it's coming in. So, Joe's saying 2-1. 2-1, okay. Sorry, I've got a message here. I'm just trying to see it at the moment. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Good morning to Harry. I'm good, Harry. I'm fine. I hope you guys are too. It's Monday morning, so it's another comprehension. And this morning we are on to poems about World War I. Okay. There was a request the other week. I think it might have come from Harry that we, because I said, I don't know if it was the last video for comprehension or the one before, I said if anyone had any particular requests for future sessions. So next week, because we're still going to be shut for at least one more week after this, we are going to skip a text and go to Beowulf the Warrior. Okay, that might mean that we come back eventually and do the one that we will miss out, which is called Moonfleet. Next week's, I'm just saying it right now before I forget, next week's will be Beowulf the Warrior. Okay, I know a few people are doing next week's text sort of basically a week ahead and then using the video to check. So if you're going to go ahead and do the next video, the next text, next week's will be Beowulf. Okay, so Dylan's all good. Morning, Mitchell, he's on as well. Hope you're okay. So I've had a couple of people text me over the past 24 hours asking about leaders hoodies that the PTA are organising. So all I've said is I'll get in touch with the PTA and find out what's happening. I would have thought they'll be here very soon. They're normally very quick. But yes, I'll find it out. Ugh, and the coffee's gone cold. So on that note, I'm going to crack on. Excellent. Alice is on now. Good morning, Alice. Hope you're okay. So I've got some portfolio requests to approve. Excellent. They are from Harry, and it looks like it's his science work from the summer stuff that I put up on some of the stuff that I put up last week about the heart and the cardiovascular system. So let's get cracking, shall we? I just want to make sure I'm not missing out any messages. No, right, we're good. Okay. Oh, I've got one here. Oh. Just hang on 1 second, 6. Right. Right, let's make a start, shall we? So we are on poems about World War One this morning. Okay, so one of the poems, like I said last week, should be familiar to you because we read it. We use it every November when we have our Remembrance Day commemorations. But the second one I've never actually seen before, but it's a really interesting one. So right, it's a really interesting one because it's a follow-on from it. But we'll go through the questions. So, like it says, Flanders is a region in Belgium which saw heavy fighting during much of World War One, from 1914 to 1918. John McCrae wrote in Flanders Fields in 1915 in response to the fighting he witnessed during the war. We Shall Keep Faith was written in 1918 by Moyne Michael. Now, it doesn't say it here, but I'm pretty confident in remembering that I read a few years back that John McCrae wrote in Flanders Fields, basically in the trenches. He was a soldier. I think he was a medical officer. And I'm pretty sure he wrote this a day after some of his comrades were killed. Okay, it's an incredibly poignant poem, and oh, I've got a message there from someone. See, my phone is going mental at the moment, but I'm not sure who these messages are from. Oh, it's from Alice saying that she can't live stream, have to do it later. Alice, I hope you get it sorted. Do let me know if you carry on having issues and I can have a look, see if there's a problem. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it's an incredibly poignant poem. Poignant poem basically means year 6 that it makes you think, it weighs heavy on your emotions. Okay, so let's read it through. We're going to read both of them and then we'll do the questions. All right. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. Okay, so poems, as with quite a lot of poetry, the punctuation and the way that the lines are separated can be a little bit irregular. So it's not always a case that you stop reading at the end of the line. With this one, sort of like I've read this many times now. I tend to try and just pause towards the end of a line, but not properly stop until I get to a piece of punctuation like that semicolon that's there. Okay, let's go on to We Shall Keep Faith. Oh, you who sleep in Flanders fields, sleep sweet to rise anew. We caught the torch you threw, and holding high we keep the faith with all who died. We cherish too the poppy red that grows on the fields where valour led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies, but lends a lustre to the red of the flower that blooms above the dead in Flanders fields. And now the torch and poppy red we wear in honour of our dead. Fear not that ye have died for naught. We'll teach the lesson that ye wrought in Flanders fields. Okay, so I read this last week for the first time, and it is almost like a response to the first poem. But remember what it said in the introduction, that this poem, the first one in Flanders Fields by John McCrae, was written in 1915. We Shall Keep the Faith by Moyne and Michael was written in 1980. So one was written right in the middle of the First World War, and one was written at the end of it. Okay, so there's going to be different perspectives there. This one is going to be written when there's no sight there's no visible end to the war in sight. It looks like it's going to be going on for a while. This one is written knowing that the war has ended now, and it's almost looking to the future. Okay, this is more looking at those that have fallen, looking at the past, and this is talking about remembering for the future. Okay, those are the main contrasts that come out of those poems, although they're about the same thing. Okay, let's go on to the questions then. So I'm going to do quite a bit of flicking back and forth because I want to refer back to the lines like it says. Question 1 mark just says, in McCrae's poem, what are the crosses on line 2? So if we look back over line 2, it says between the crosses, row on row. Okay. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row. Okay. So the crosses can be there's different ways of interpreting this. It could literally be like the cross that's shown here, sort of the Christian symbol that's many times used in sort of graves and things like that. So it could be used to represent where the dead have fallen. It could also be in terms of imagery, because remember, poetry is full of imagery and represents different things. So if you've ever seen pictures of the trenches and the no man's land that was between the trenches in the First World War, the structures that held up a lot of the barbed wire were crosses as well. They were sort of diagonal cross structures. Okay, I'm going to go with the crosses of sort of were represented few graves of the fallen soldiers. Okay. But it's always worth thinking about when you're reading poetry as to what meaning the poet could be aiming for in what they're writing. Yeah, Joe's got the graves of the unknown soldiers who died, because that's it. There were so many soldiers, and sometimes it was impossible to recover bodies and recover the dead. That they sometimes had memorials to soldiers knowing that they died, but having not actually had a body to bury, which is incredibly sad. But such was the sort of brutality of the First World War, especially. Okay, let's go on to the next question then. It says, to find and copy a phrase from the first verse of McCrae's poem that shows that the war was still going on. Okay, so we're looking for maybe some present tense language there in the first verse. Let's read it back. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, in between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. Okay, so there's a few actually. There's a few little phrases in there that show that the war's still going on. If you wanted to look at it from excuse me, a present tense point of view, I suppose you could technically have that one, the poppies blow, because that's present tense. Okay, the larks still bravely singing fly. Okay, the larks being the birds, flying, singing above the guns below. Scarce heard means that the birds can't be heard for all the fighting below. Okay, scarce heard amid the guns below. Any of those would sort of give the impression that the war is still going on. I'm going to go for the one on line 4 here, because it's got that word there that stands out for me. The lark still bravely singing. Who's just messaged me then? Okay, so I'm going to go with that one, but like I said, there was about 2 or 3 different ones we could put there. Just remember though, when that language comes up in a question, find and copy a phrase, you have to put it in exactly. So when I put it in, I'm going to put inverted commas at the beginning and start once I've finished, but I'm going to put any punctuation that I've got. Okay, I'm going to put some inverted commas in there. Okay, I'm going to put those, show that it's a direct copy from the text. Good morning, John. Just come on. Hope you're well. Okay, so number 3 is another one marker. It says both poems refer to a torch. What do you think the torch represents? Okay. And Joseph got a perfect answer. It says a soldier facing the enemy and the dead passing the task to the next soldier. Okay, yeah. Okay, so in the poem, look back where it says, to you from failing hands we throw the torch. Okay, from failing hands means this soldier is dying. Okay, or they're no longer able to fight. So they're throwing on the torch, they're throwing on the responsibility. Okay, take up our quarrel with the foe, take up our fight with the enemy. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. With passing on the responsibility now, be yours to hold it high. It's your responsibility to do the right thing. Okay, what do you think the torch represents? So I'm sort of going to paraphrase Joe's a little bit here. Joe put a soldier facing the enemy and the dead passing the task to the next soldier. Okay, so mine's loosely going to be pretty much the same. The torch represents the responsibility of those who are able to carry on fighting their cause. So it's almost like they don't, their death wasn't in vain. Okay. So in Michael's poem, number 4, it says, why is the colour of the poppy significant? Okay. So let's look back at We Shall Keep the Faith. So I'm looking through it. I'm going to focus really on verses 2 and 3 because poppy red, poppy red comes up again and again. We cherish too the poppy red that grows on fields where valour led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies, but lends a lustre to the red of the flower that blooms above the dead in Flanders fields. And now the torch and poppy red we wear in honour of our dead. Okay, so why is the colour of the poppy significant? It's a 2 marker here, so we're going to have to make 2 points, I expect, or make a point and use some evidence from the poem. Okay, so I'm going to go with make a point and use evidence. So when I put evidence in, remember I'm going to have to use my inverted commas to show an extract. Okay, I'm just thinking actually, if I'm being really specific, because that was an extract, I'm just going to use single paired commas there. Okay. The red represents the blood that was shed by the fallen soldiers. And their bravery. Right, so that's 1 mark there. to get 2 marks, I'm now going to go on to, I'm just going to put a quote in, so single paired commas, grows on the fields where valor led. Okay. So what it's not asking me to do is just copy down an extract where it says red. Okay, because valor there is meaning courage, bravery. Okay, so that quote there is demonstrating that I've identified that point being made in the poem. Okay, number 5. Tell you what, brownie point for Joe this morning. He's basically sending me the next answer as I'm going. Number 5 says to look at line 6 of Michael's poem. So before I even read the rest of the question, I'm going to look at line 6. We cherish too the poppy red. Okay, and the question says, I'll get the camera sorted. What do you think the word cherish means? Okay. Cherish means to hold dear, and to look after and protect. Okay, if you cherish something, you really care for it. Okay. So we cherish too the poppy red. So it's asking, to sort of look after, care for this poppy, look after what it represents, what that symbol is being used to commemorate and remember. Number 6. Now this is a really good question. Why do you think she wrote the poem? Okay, the question isn't what is the poem about. Why do you think she wrote it? Okay, so it's 2 marks here. Okay, so you're going to have to maybe make a point and explain with this one. Number 7 we'll leave for now because we're going to use that as a bit of like a response question. Number 6, why do you think she wrote the poem? Okay, if anyone's able to, if you send me what you've got for that one before I show you what I've got. Okay, so why do you think Michael wrote her poem? I'm going to put as a response to McRae's. Oh, we've got a sorry, Johnson sent me his. As a response to McRae's and a promise that those who died wouldn't be forgotten. Okay, so that's what I'm putting for my first mark. For my second mark, to really explain, I'm going to use the sort of the quotes from the end of the last verse, where it says, "We'll teach the lesson that ye wrought." Okay. Says in the final verse, I know I'm using a lot more lines than I should do here, but it says in the final verse, "We'll teach the lesson." Shows or demonstrates their commitment. Okay. You know, the poem is called "We Shall Keep the Faith," and it's almost, we're going to keep this memory going. If you think now, you know, sort of 2020, we're over 100 years after the end of the First World War, but yet that Remembrance Day commemorations, they're still just as important in our country's culture, as it were. You know, I think in 2018, when they had the 100-year anniversary, they had record numbers turn out. Obviously, it was a 100-year centenary, but you know, that memory still has not died away. Number 7. During November, a lot of people wear poppies pinned to their clothes. Having read these poems, do you think wearing a poppy is important? Explain your answer now. I'm intentionally going to leave this one because what I'd like you to do, Year 6, is just send me that response on the messages if you can, because this would be a nice one just to have a quick discussion about, rather than just doing it as an answer. Okay. So if you've got a response there, Year 6, I'm able to quickly type one up, just send it over to me. Excellent. Dylan sent me his. Okay, so make sure we've got our 2-mark response in. Oh, Dylan sent it me. Is that good? He sent it me twice. Okay. Okay, so why do you think poppies is important? Dylan's put because they grew in Flanders fields. Oh, he says he's writing more. Okay, right. Joe's got, yes, it's very important as the poppy represents blood, the death, and the bullets that wounded the soldiers, and shows respect for those who fought for our country and put all their effort to keep us safe. Excellent response, Joe. Yeah, that'd be worthy of 2 marks there, because you've got a couple of reasons there because of what the poppy represents and why we wear it. I mean, personally, it says, having read these, do you think it's important? I'd be saying that it is important because the memory of those who gave, basically similar to what Joe said, the memory of the sacrifice that those soldiers gave should be remembered as long as we can. And like Moyne and Michael says, it is our responsibility to keep their memory going. What else has Dylan got? He's added some more. Yeah, and we wear them to show that they're not forgotten. And I think really, so if we're trying to relate it back to the text, we'd be saying that, using Moyne and Michael's point, to say that it is our responsibility to remember them and to keep that memory going, and to teach future generations. That's literally what it says in the last verse. Fear not that ye have died for naught. We'll teach the lesson that ye wrought. Okay, so it's, we will teach the next generation. We will keep this memory going. So, concludes another session for today. Thank you those who joined in. It was a different sort of session doing the poetry, wasn't it? Remember, next week we will be doing Beowulf the Warrior. Like I said at the start of the video, I know some people prefer to go on and do the text now, and then next week you're just going over the answers. So if that's you, okay, do this text, Beowulf the Warrior, on pages 24 and 25. Okay, doesn't mean we won't do Moonfleet. It just means that next week we're going to do that one, because I think it was Harry requested that one. For future sessions, year 6, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 texts left after that. Roughly 4 weeks left of term. So if there's any requests that you want to make, one of them is Moonfleet, which is an adventure novel. One of them is Cyberbullying Report. One of them is Romeo and Juliet. That'll be a personal favourite for me. And the last one is A Letter from a Former Slave. So if there's any that you want to do in future sessions, let me know. I'm going to go with Harry's request next week, and we'll do Beowulf, pages 24 and 25. But that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining in. I know I've sort of broken a little bit of a promise. I was really looking forward to seeing some of you today. However, fate has turned the tables against us, as it were. So it's like that Vera Ling song, isn't it, that we learned at Eden Camp. We'll meet again. Don't know when, but we will do. Thanks, Bose, for sent me a picture through. Remember, year 6, if you want to use the portfolio that's on Dojo, you can record pictures of your work on there, and that's a really nice way to just sort of collect the work that you've done. I will see you guys tomorrow. Our comprehension. Our grammar session tomorrow will be pages 51 to 55, word families, prefixes, and suffixes. Okay. And then the maths and punctuation sheets are all on the message that I put on Dojo last night. What else? The topic chat will be on Friday. There's some activities that I posted on Friday that you can be having a go at. And also, please, as much as you can, be getting onto Reading Plus, go on Some Dog, Times Table Rockstars, anything like that's going to keep it going. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like me to put on. I can try my hardest. But please, if you can do 1 Reading Plus a day, that just keeps our reading ticking over. Your Some Dog, your Times Table Rockstars, it's just going to keep those key skills ticking over. All right? It won't feel like you're doing much, but just having those skills constantly going over, even if it's a little bit every day, it just means that they're kept on the boil. You'll be much better position for when we eventually return, and also thinking about September. Okay, like I said at the start, those people have asked about hoodies, the Leavers hoodies. I'll get in touch with the PTA and find out what's happening. Thanks for all the messages, and I shall see you all tomorrow for some grammar. Okay. Thanks, year 6, Mr. Hyde. Bye now.